My wife left me for a younger man on my 51st birthday. Our daughters cheered. On my 51st birthday, my 8-year-old niece found a torn-up note in the kitchen trash and brought it to me like it was treasure. She smoothed it out on my knee and said, "Uncle David, is this part of your birthday surprise?" On the paper, in my wife's handwriting, it said, "Once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Don't worry, the girls will side with us." My niece looked up at me with big eyes and whispered, "Are you going somewhere?" I didn't shout. I didn't storm into the dining room and flip the table. I made one small change. I folded that note, slipped it into my wallet, and decided that before I reacted, I was going to watch and listen to every word my family said that night. I didn't know that a few hours later, in front of our friends and our daughters, my wife would stand up, raise her glass, and announce she was leaving me for a younger man. And I definitely didn't know my daughters would applaud. My name is David. I'm 51 years old, and I'm from a mid-sized town in Pennsylvania, about an hour out of Philadelphia. For most of my life, I've been one very specific kind of man, the quiet, steady one in the background. I worked as an electrician for almost 30 years. I coached my daughter's soccer teams. I fixed leaky faucets for neighbors and showed up early to help at community events. I'm not the guy who makes a big speech. I'm the guy who makes sure the microphone is plugged in. My wife, Karen, is, or was, the opposite. She's 49, a marketing director, the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly knows where the cameras are. When we met in our 20s, I thought her confidence was dazzling. She thought my reliability was a nice counterweight to her chaos. We married at 26, bought a modest house at 29, and had our daughters Emily and Lauren at 30 and 32. From the outside, we looked like a pretty standard middle-class family. On the inside, things were more complicated. Karen was the star of our little show, PTA president, organizer of school fundraisers, the one other moms went to for advice. Our daughters adored her. I don't blame them. She was fun, intense, full of big gestures. I was the one who packed lunches, did late-night homework help, and drove them to early morning practice. If you asked them who they wanted in the stands at their big game, the answer was Mom. If you asked who actually made sure their uniform was washed and in the car, the answer was Dad. I used to joke that Karen was the headline, and I was the fine print. Over the years, the jokes stopped being funny. When the girls were teens, Karen's career took off. Longer hours, work trips, client dinners. I picked up more of the slack at home without really thinking about it. Whenever I did raise something like the time she missed Emily's school play because of a work emergency that turned out to be drinks with her team, she'd roll her eyes. "Someone in this family has to be ambitious, David," she'd say. "You're stable. I'm reaching. The girls need to see that it's okay to want more." Wanting more became her mantra. When I was 48, after years of night classes and overtime, I finally got offered a supervisor position at my company. It meant a small bump in pay, but more importantly, better hours and less physical strain. I came home excited, wanting to tell her. She listened, scrolled her phone, and said, "That's great, honey. So does that mean you'll finally get around to transferring the house title like we talked about?" We had talked about it, or rather, she had brought it up a few times. Her reasoning: if the house was solely in her name, it would be easier estate-wise if something happened to me, since she was better at money. I'd always been uneasy, but couldn't articulate why. The mortgage and title had been in my name since we bought it. She had better credit at the time, but I had the more stable job, so that's how the bank structured it. "We can put both our names," I'd said back then. "We will," she'd replied. "Just sign it over first, then we'll add me. It's just a timing thing." Work got busy, papers got lost, it never happened. But she kept bringing it up. On my 51st birthday, I walked into our kitchen carrying a bag of ice and a store-bought pie, thinking that was going to be the biggest crisis of the day, me forgetting to pick up the fancy dessert she'd ordered. Instead, my niece handed me that note. "Once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Don't worry, the girls will side with us." I recognized Karen's handwriting immediately, the loopy G, the way she crossed her T's. For a second, my mind tried to explain it away. Maybe it was an old note about her parents' house. Maybe it was something from a movie idea. She'd always said she wanted to write a screenplay. Maybe... Then I saw the date. It was scribbled at the top in blue ink. Draft, March 3. Today was March 5. 2 days old. My heart rate picked up. I looked over the top of the note into the living room. Karen was there, bustling around, directing people where to put the presents, laughing too loud. Our daughters, 22-year-old Emily and 19-year-old Lauren, hovered near her, taking selfies, arranging the banner that said, "Happy 51, David." To anyone walking in, we were a happy family setting up for a party. I folded the paper slowly, calmly, slipped it into my wallet behind an old gas station loyalty card. "Where did you find this, kiddo?" I asked my niece. "In the little trash can by Aunt Karen's sink," she said. "The one with the lid. It was on top." So it wasn't some deep old trash. It was fresh. "Do me a favor," I said gently. "Let's keep this between us for now, okay? Grown-up stuff." She nodded solemnly. "Okay. Are you mad?" "I'm curious," I said, "and I'm going to find out what it means." I patted her shoulder, then walked into my own birthday party with the distinct feeling that I was the only person in the room who didn't know the script. The first hour of the party felt like a play I'd seen 100 times. Neighbors came in, balancing casseroles. Ben, my friend from work, not my wife's boyfriend, we aren't there yet, handed me a six-pack and clapped me on the shoulder. "Halfway to 102, he joked. "How's it feel?" "About the same as 50, I said, forcing a smile. Karen flitted from group to group, refilling drinks, laughing at jokes, telling the story of how we met for the 1000th time. He spilled coffee all over himself the first time he tried to talk to me, she said, and everyone laughed. Emily and Lauren stuck close to her, chiming in, glancing at me with something I couldn't quite place. Not guilt, something more like anticipation. Every now and then, Karen's hand would brush her phone in her pocket, checking it like she was waiting for a very specific message. At one point, I slipped into the hallway to catch my breath and pulled out the note again. Once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Don't worry, the girls will side with us. I snapped a photo with my phone. Old habit from work. Document everything. As I slid it back into my wallet, a message popped up on my screen. Group chat. Family core. Karen. Everyone here yet? Almost time. Emily. Lauren's running to get the cake candle. 5 mins. Lauren. Don't start without me. I want to film it. Almost time for what? There was no mention of speeches in the plan I'd heard. Just food, cake, maybe a toast or two. I typed, me. Time for what? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. I put my phone back in my pocket and returned to the living room. A few minutes later, Lauren came in from the garage with a big 5 and 1 candle in her hand. Everyone to the dining room, Karen called, her voice bright and just a little too loud. It's cake time. We shuffled in. The cake chocolate with chocolate frosting, my favorite, was in the center of the table, already lit. Someone had turned off the overhead lights. The candles flickered in the dim room. Make a wish, Dad, Emily said. Phone out, recording. I closed my eyes. In my head, instead of some generic wish about health or happiness, I heard myself think, I wish I knew what was actually happening right now. I blew out the candles. Smoke curled up. People clapped. Before I could reach for the knife, Karen held up a hand. Wait, she said. Before we cut the cake, I want to say something. She turned to face the room, holding her wine glass like a microphone. My stomach tightened. This won't be long, she said, smiling. I've been thinking a lot about milestones, about how we only get so many chances to say the big things out loud. She looked at me, then at our daughters. They looked back at her, eyes shining like they knew exactly what was coming. I met David when I was 24, she continued. He was safe, solid, the kind of man you build a life with. And we did. We built this house, this family, these amazing girls. I watched her, listened to the words she chose. Safe, solid. Not loved, not cherished. But somewhere along the way, she went on, her voice softening, I started to realize that I was changing, that I wanted different things. A murmur rippled through the room. I could feel all eyes shifting between us. Karen took a breath, like an actress hitting her mark. And today, on David's 51st birthday, I decided it was time to be honest, with him, with our girls, with all of you. She set her glass down with a soft clink. I'm leaving the marriage, she said. David and I have grown in different directions, and I've found someone who fits who I am now. Someone younger, yes, but also someone who wants the same things I want in this part of my life. A few people gasped. Someone's fork clattered onto a plate. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. This was it. The once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Speech except I hadn't signed anything. Karen kept talking. We didn't want to make a big scene about it later or pretend everything was fine tonight, she said. So we agreed it would be best to tell you all at once. We're going to handle this with love and maturity for the girls' sake. We agreed? She hadn't said a word to me about this. No counseling, no separation talk. Nothing more serious than a few snippy arguments about my lack of ambition. I opened my mouth to say, we didn't agree to any such thing. But before I could speak, Lauren started clapping. It was tentative at first. Then Emily joined in. Within seconds, my daughters were applauding their mother's announcement that she was leaving me for someone younger. Good for you, Mom, Emily said loudly. Finally, Lauren added under her breath. You deserve to be happy. Karen's eyes filled with tears, not of shame, but of triumphant emotion. Thank you, girls, she said. I knew you'd understand. I stood there, watching my own children clap at the end of a marriage I was still in, and felt something in my chest crack. The room split. Some friends looked at me with pity, others looked at Karen with awe, like she was doing something brave and empowering. Karen squeezed Emily's shoulder. We've talked about this as a family, she said to the room. The girls know I haven't been truly happy for a long time. They've seen how hard I've tried. As a family, I stared at my daughters. How long have you known? I asked, my voice low but steady. Emily shifted. A couple of months, she said. We've been helping Mom work on her exit plan. Exit plan. Lauren added, we just want what's best for her. You'll be okay, Dad. You always land on your feet. My ears buzzed. The cake in front of me blurred. Karen touched my arm lightly, like a nurse reassuring a patient. We'll talk about the details privately, she said. About the house, money, all that. I just didn't want to pretend in front of everyone anymore. I thought of the note in my wallet. Once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Don't worry, the girls will side with us. Now it all clicked. The sudden push for me to transfer the title, the way she'd been working on the girls, the family talks I'd apparently not been invited to. She hadn't just decided tonight, to be honest. She'd been planning this. And my daughters had been helping her. After Karen's speech, the party didn't exactly end. It just shifted into something strange and brittle. A couple of neighbors mumbled excuses and left. Others tried to smooth things over. Well, at least you told the truth, one of Karen's coworkers said. Most people would just cheat in secret. I'm so proud of you for choosing yourself, another murmured to her, pointedly not looking at me. My friend Ben leaned in and whispered, "Do you want me to get you out of here?" "I live here," I said. That seemed to stump him. Karen announced that she'd be staying with a friend for a while to give us all space. I knew enough euphemism to understand what that meant. About an hour into this surreal post-announcement reception, my phone buzzed again. New message, family core. "Emily, you did great, Mom. So proud of you." Lauren, "He took it better than I thought, Tage." Karen, "I'm shaking. So relieved it's finally out. Love you both more than anything." Emily, "Dinner with name redacted still on tonight." Karen, "Yes, he's waiting for updates." I stared at the last message. The younger man, my replacement, was waiting for updates on how my birthday ambush had gone. I took a screenshot, then another of the earlier messages about almost time and filming the moment. I didn't respond in the chat. Instead, I slipped my phone away and went to find my daughters. They were in the living room, huddled on the couch, scrolling their phones. When they saw me, their expressions flickered guilt, defensiveness, something like pity. "We should talk," I said. Lauren rolled her eyes slightly. "Here we go," she muttered. Emily sat up straighter. "Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be," she said. "Mom's been miserable for years." "For years," I echoed. "That's interesting, because we celebrated our 25th anniversary last summer, and she gave a very different speech then." "People can put on a face," Emily said. "You're not exactly emotionally available." I blinked. Emotionally. I coach kids. I've gone to every game. Being present isn't the same as being emotionally supportive, she snapped. You never pushed her to chase her dreams. You were always content with good enough. She outgrew that. I felt like I'd entered a different universe. "So, her dream is a younger man?" I asked. Lauren folded her arms. "You're making it sound seedy," she said. "He's a good guy. He treats her well. He supports her. He's more on her level." "Do you hear yourself?" I asked quietly. "You are defending your mother's decision to blow up a 25-year marriage at your father's birthday party for someone your age, and you planned it with her." "It's not like that," Emily said, color rising in her cheeks. "We didn't plan the timing. That was her idea. We just didn't want her to keep suffering." "Did any of you think to ask if I was suffering?" I asked. Silence. Lauren looked away. Emily's jaw clenched. "Dad," she said finally, "you'll be fine. You always are. You don't need as much as she does." There it was, the story they'd been fed. I was the stable background character. Karen was the one whose feelings mattered. I took a slow breath. "I found a note," I said. "In the trash." Lauren's eyes flickered nervously for half a second. Emily frowned. "What note?" I pulled out my wallet, unfolded the paper, and read aloud. "Once he signs the house over, I'm gone. Don't worry, the girls will side with us." Their faces went pale at the last line. "Where did you get that?" Lauren asked. "A little bird found it," I said. 8 years old, very curious. Emily snatched it from my hand, scanned it, then glared toward the kitchen where Karen was talking to my mother. "This is out of context," she said weakly. "It's just Mom processing her feelings." "Her feelings about leaving me as soon as she gets the house in her name?" I asked. "With your support?" Lauren swallowed. "It's not like—" "Did you know about the house plan?" I interrupted. They exchanged a look. "We knew she wanted security," Emily said carefully. "She didn't want to get stuck with nothing if things went south." "If she left," I said, "she'd get plenty. It's called divorce law, but that's not what this is. This is, once he signs the house over, I'm gone." I held up my phone and opened another screenshot. "Here's you, asking if dinner with the younger man is still on tonight," I said. "Right after you clapped for your mother leaving your father. On his birthday." Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "Stop," she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "For once, I'm not going to stop to protect anyone's feelings but my own." Before we could go any further, Karen appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay in here?" she asked, voice sugary. "We're just talking," I said. She looked at the note in Emily's hand, then at my phone. Her face hardened for half a second, then she smiled. "Oh, that old thing," she said. "I was venting to a friend. You know how dramatic I can be." "Dramatic enough to write out your escape plan and recruit our daughters?" I asked. She sighed loudly, as if I were being unreasonable. "David, let's not do this in front of the kids," she said. I laughed once. It didn't sound like me. "They're not kids," I said. "They're adults who helped you script my humiliation." Behind her, through the window, I saw a car pull up, a shiny gray sedan I didn't recognize. Karen glanced over her shoulder and smiled in a way I'd never seen her smile at me. "He's here," she said under her breath. The doorbell rang. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Karen smoothed her hair, checked her lipstick in the reflection of the microwave, and walked to the front door like she was stepping onto a red carpet. She opened it with a bright, "Hey, you made it." A man in his early 30s stepped inside. Athletic build, dressed casually but in that expensive, effortless way. He carried a small gift bag. "Happy birthday, David," he said, strolling into my house like he owned the place. "I'm Ryan. I've heard a lot about you." I looked at his outstretched hand, then back at his face. "You've heard a lot about me," I repeated. "Yeah," he said, unfazed. "Karen talks about you all the time, how you built this life. Really admirable, man." There was no shame in his voice, no awkwardness at being introduced as the man my wife was leaving me for. Just confidence, like he was the natural next step in her story. Karen slipped her arm through his. "Ryan and I met through work," she said. "We've been waiting for the right moment to go public." "The right moment," I said slowly. My 51st birthday. Lauren shifted uncomfortably. Emily stared at the floor. Ryan smiled. Look, I know this is tough, he said. But sometimes people grow apart. Karen deserves to be with someone who challenges her, you know? Challenges her. Not once in 25 years had anyone ever said I challenged Karen. I'd provided, supported, fixed. I hadn't challenged. Maybe that was my mistake, but it didn't make this any less cruel. I turned to Karen. Are you leaving with him tonight? I asked. She hesitated only a second. Yes, she said. I think it's better if we start the separation cleanly. The girls will help you with any paperwork stuff. We've talked through a lot of it. You've talked through a lot of it, I corrected. Without me. She shrugged. We didn't want to burden you until we had a plan. It was almost funny, if you squinted. You keep saying plan like this is some corporate restructuring, I said. This is our marriage, our family. That's exactly why we're trying to handle it like adults, she snapped. We want this to be amicable. Amicable. I thought of the note. The group chat. The secret family meetings without me. Amicable for her meant she left with her reputation and finances intact, with my daughters cheering her on. It's not going to be as amicable as you think, I said. Ryan's eyebrows lifted. Is that a threat, man? No, I said. It's a reality check. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. While you were working on your plan, I had a little gut feeling something was off, I said. So last month, when you pushed me again about signing the house over, I talked to a lawyer. Karen went very still. A lawyer? She repeated. Yes, I said. A very good one. Turns out, in this state, if a spouse transfers property under pressure or manipulation right before a divorce, courts don't look kindly on it. Emily's eyes widened. Lauren looked between us, confused. And because I still hadn't signed anything, I went on. And because I now have this, I held up the photo of the note, and this, I flipped to the group chat screenshots. My lawyer is very confident that any judge will see your exit plan for exactly what it is. Karen's face flushed. You think you can make me look bad? She hissed. Everyone knows how checked out you've been for years. David, this is getting weird, Ryan said, shifting. Maybe we should just... Actually, I cut in. It's about to get very simple. I took a breath. This house, I said, is paid off. I worked overtime for years to make that happen. The deed is in my name, and it's going to stay that way until a court tells me otherwise. You are free to leave tonight. But you do not take this house with you. Emily spoke up, voice shaky. Dad, that's not fair. Mom put so much into this place. And so did I said. And I've put 22 and 19 years into raising you, which apparently counts for nothing in this new narrative where I'm the dead weight. That's not what Lauren started. This isn't about punishing anyone, I said more softly. It's about not handing over everything I've built to a woman who's already planning not to be here. Karen crossed her arms. You can't keep me from what I'm owed, she said. We'll see what the court says. We will, I agreed. In the meantime, my lawyer advised me to separate finances, change beneficiaries on my life insurance, and freeze any joint lines of credit until we have an official agreement. Ryan frowned. That's a little dramatic, isn't it? I learned from the best, I said. Karen's lips thinned. So, what now? She asked. Now, I said. You leave. You go start your new life with the man who challenges you. And I start mine here, without pretending we're anything but strangers. Emily's eyes filled with tears. You're really kicking Mom out on your birthday, she said. She's choosing to leave, I said. I'm just not going to roll over and let her take everything with her. Karen grabbed her overnight bag from behind the couch. It was already packed. Of course it was. She walked to the door, then turned back. You're going to turn the girls against me, she accused, just like you turned this around tonight. I looked at Emily and Lauren. I'm not turning anyone, I said. You're adults. You've made your choices. I'm making mine. Karen scoffed. He'll make you feel guilty, she said to them. Don't let him. Ryan opened the door for her. She stepped through without looking back. He followed, but paused on the threshold. No hard feelings, man, he said. I met his eyes. One day, I said quietly, you might find yourself at your own birthday party, and someone younger will say those words to you. I hope, for your sake, you remember this moment. He shifted uncomfortably, then left. The door closed. The house felt suddenly huge and empty. Emily burst into tears. I can't believe you talked to a lawyer behind our backs, she said. Behind your backs, I repeated slowly. Do you hear yourself? Lauren's voice was small. What's going to happen now? I looked at them, at the two people I loved most in the world, who had just clapped for my humiliation, and realized something painful. I couldn't protect them from the consequences of their choices any more than I could protect Karen from hers. What happens now, I said, is up to you. It's been a little over a year since my wife used my 51st birthday to announce she was leaving me for a younger man, and my daughters applauded. If you're wondering what happened next, I'll give you the short answer first. The divorce went through. Karen did not get the house. My relationship with my daughters changed permanently, one fractured, one slowly healing. And I learned that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who finally breaks the cycle. Legally, the note and the screenshots mattered more than I'd expected. My lawyer printed everything. The once he signs the house over, I'm gone note. The family group chat about almost time, and he took it better than I thought. Karen's text with Ryan that, let's just say, established a timeline that didn't match her we just grew apart narrative. When Karen's lawyer tried to argue that she deserved a larger share of assets because she was sacrificing her stable life for love, my lawyer slid the note across the table. The other attorney read it, sighed, and said, "We're going to need a minute." In the end, the settlement was fair. Not punitive, not vindictive. We split retirement accounts. She got a portion of savings. I kept the house with a small equity buyout. She was furious. "You made me look like a villain," she said in the parking lot after our final hearing. "You made your own choices," I replied. "I just stopped hiding the evidence." Emotionally, things were messier. For the first couple of months, Emily sided hard with Karen. She sent me long texts about supporting mom's journey and not being so old-fashioned about relationships. Emily: "Dad, marriages end. It doesn't mean she never loved you." Me: "Marriages end, yes. But how they end matters." Emily: "You're choosing anger over growth." I realized pretty quickly that arguing with her was like arguing with a press release Karen had written. So I pulled back. I stopped chasing, stopped sending just checking in messages that went unanswered. Instead, I sent short, consistent notes. "I'm here. I love you. I'm not going to debate mom with you." Then I lived my life. Lauren surprised me. About 3 weeks after the party, she showed up at my door with a grocery bag. "I brought food," she said, "and I brought my brain." We sat at the table. She pulled out her phone. "I rewatched the video," she said, "of the cake, of us clapping, of mom's speech. It looked bad. Really bad." I stayed quiet, letting her process. "I thought we were helping her," she said. "She told us you'd be fine, that you didn't need us as much as she did. She said you were coasting and she was drowning." She looked up at me, eyes wet. "But you looked like you'd been hit by a truck," she said. "And I was just clapping." I reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "You were put in a position you never should have been in," I said. "That's on us as parents." "It's also on me," she said. "I'm not 12. I knew it was wrong to plan a whole speech about leaving you without telling you first. I just didn't want to lose her." "That's the hardest part about divorces," I said. "Kids, even adult ones, feel like they have to pick a side to keep someone." Lauren wiped her nose. "I don't want to pick a side," she said. "I just don't want to pretend what happened was empowering and cute. It was messed up." We started having coffee once a week. We didn't talk about Karen every time. We talked about her classes, her job at the bookstore, my attempts at cooking for one. Sometimes she'd say, quietly, "I'm sorry again." Sometimes I'd say, "I know." Emily took longer. About 6 months after the divorce, I got a text from her at 1:23 a.m. "Emily, can we talk tomorrow?" When we did, she sounded deflated. "I moved in with Mom and Ryan for a while," she said. "It was not what I imagined." Apparently, the glamorous new life hadn't been as Instagram perfect up close. "They fight," she said. "A lot. About money, about time, about us. Ryan makes jokes about older women when he thinks she's not listening. She laughs, but it's not pretty." She paused. "She keeps saying you're trying to turn us against her," Emily continued, "but you haven't said anything. You just do your thing." "That's all I can control," I said. There was a long silence. "Do you hate me?" she asked finally. The question hit me like a punch. "No," I said. "I was hurt, deeply. I felt abandoned, but I don't hate you." "I clapped," she whispered. "I clapped when she nuked your life." "You clapped because the person you were trying to protect told you were doing the right thing," I said. "That doesn't make it less painful for me. But it doesn't make you evil either. It makes you human." "And 22. She sniffed. "You sound like a counselor," she said. "I've been in therapy," I admitted. Figured if everyone else was choosing themselves, I might as well choose not to repeat old patterns. She let out a shaky laugh. "Would you want to grab dinner sometime?" she asked. "I'd like that," I said. "But I'm not going to pretend everything goes back to how it was overnight. Trust is like this house. It took years to build. It can be knocked down faster than you think. Rebuilding takes time." "I get that," she said. "I'll show up. That's all I can do, right?" "Showing up is a good start," I said. "We've been, slowly, finding our way back to each other." She still spends more time at her mom's. She still defends Karen more than I think she should. But every so often she'll say something like, "Yeah, that wasn't cool of her." And I can feel a little more of the fog lifting. As for Karen and Ryan, from what I hear, they're still together. They post a lot of living my best life photos, brunches, trips, sunset selfies. Maybe they're happy. Maybe they're performing. Either way, it's not my job to fix, judge, or participate in that story anymore. Which brings me to the lesson I promised at the start, the thing I wish someone had told me in my 30s, before I built my entire identity around being the safe, solid one other people could bounce their chaos off. Here it is. Stability does not mean being a doormat. You're allowed to draw a line, even if you've spent years being the easygoing one. And if people only valued you as long as you stayed quiet, they were never loving you, just the comfort you provided. I used to think that keeping the peace meant absorbing whatever other people threw at me. Now, I understand that real peace isn't something you keep by letting yourself be destroyed. It's something you build sometimes alone on the other side of hard decisions. I didn't choose for my wife to leave me for a younger man. I didn't choose for my daughters to clap when she did it. But I did choose what happened next. I chose not to sign my life away for the sake of appearances. I chose to keep receipts instead of gaslighting myself. I chose to let my daughters come back to me on their own instead of begging. And somewhere along the way, I chose myself for the first time. If you're listening to this and you've been the steady one your whole life, here's what I want you to hear. You are allowed to want respect, not just survival. And you are allowed to walk away from anyone's spouse, partner, even adult children who only clap when the story favors them. So that's how my 51st birthday turned from a celebration into the night my wife announced she was leaving me for a younger man and my daughters applauded. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this. You can't control the script other people write you into. But you can decide whether you keep acting in it. You're allowed to say, "No, I'm stepping out of this role now. Now I want to hear from you." If you were in my position, what would you have done after that birthday? Would you cut contact, stay open like I did, or something completely different? Tell me in the comments. I read as many as I can, and your perspectives help other people who might be living something similar right now. And if you like calm, detailed story times about real relationships, family betrayal, and rebuilding your life, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Your support really does help us keep making these long-form videos for you.